Hello YouTube, thought I'd do a video from under the rucksack. Thought maybe that might be a good name for my channel. I haven't come up with a good name yet. From under the rucksack with Jim B. Came up with that idea when I did 23 years in the Army. And it's a load you carry, that whole experience. And then I retired, and then I was no longer under that military life. But I got to thinking the rucksack is a metaphor for things that we carry. Burdens, fears, you name it, pressures, life pressure. And everybody, no matter what your age, is carrying something. Kids these days, pressures they have, and these young teenagers and the pressures they have now with all the social media, on up to middle-aged adults, to an older adult dealing with aging, the burden that we carry. Some of it is seen, unseen. Some of it's our own fault for poor life choices, and some of it's not our own fault, but we're all carrying something. I ruck on this Memorial Day weekend. As you know, I'm not a big holiday celebrator, and so this day, Memorial Day, which is Monday, is really just another day to me, because Memorial Day and Veterans Day is every day for me. But it's good that we remember and take time to remember our fallen, the day that we remember those that's lives were lost in wars. Even in non-conflict, we lose people in peacetime. So we can't forget them. And I also like to remember the civilians that supported the military. Very integral. I heard a quote that said, "Poor is the nation that has no heroes, but poorer still is a nation that has heroes but doesn't remember and honor them." So at least that's a good thing in America. We still remember our fallen. And I remember I was at a site in Maryland, a plane, World War II time frame. A plane had crashed in the mountains of Maryland, and I just by happenstance came across the memorial of the location. And then I go to a museum in town, and it had a more detail about that incident. And they crash landed, and some of the crew members actually died of exposure in the cold because it was in the wintertime. Tragic story. And the gentleman who oversaw the museum, he said, small towns don't forget things like that. And that stuck with me in the way he said it. And he said it twice. I'm going to go back this way. And how true that is when you go across America, little towns with their memorials from, oh my gosh, Revolutionary War, Civil War, on up, World War I, II, Vietnam, right? Korean War, Iraq War, Afghanistan, all of that. So we remember it. And there'll be parades going on all across the country, Memorial Day parades. Andy Rooney, the late Andy Rooney, said, you know, it's not really for the dead that we do this, but it's for us, the living, remembering them. And he also said that we use the expression, they gave their lives. And he said, they didn't give their lives. Their lives were taken from them. And I agree with that. Being a veteran myself, Afghanistan veteran, I was prepared to not come back. If I went out somewhere, I was prepared that I may not survive it. You know, and I really don't want to give my life, but I was prepared. You know, I was able to, or was willing to risk it and have it taken if need be. And those around me were the same way. Sometimes interesting thing about the military is sometimes, you know, it's just like any other organization. You may have people that you don't necessarily get along with or agree with, but you still pull together and work together, and they would risk their life for you and you for them. We wouldn't go down without fighting together, which makes the military a unique place that I think civilian organizations can learn from, about how the military operates and how we are able to pull together and from all different walks of life to accomplish something. It's amazing. So I ruck still as a form of exercise to keep a little bit of hardness to me. I still like to keep that edge to me. As long as I'm still physically able to ruck, run, bike, swim, walk, I want to do it. I want to maintain. And I'm one of those veterans that believes that there's no expiration date on our oath, or at least on my oath of enlistment. It's who I am. I did 23 years. Most of my adult life was in the military. It was my life, and it's such an integral part of who I am, even to this day at the age of 51, to where I could be called up next week and can still pass height, weight, physical fitness test for my age, and be ready to go. Still, to this day. But that's just something that I do, and I can understand veterans that they don't, they did their few years. I did my time. I got out, and that's it. And they're let themselves go and put on a lot of weight and unhealthy, and then they end up passing away for heart attack or something. So I do it for me as well, just to maintain my own health, watch what I eat and all that, and keep moving. So, thoughts from under the rucksack. And Memorial Day, for some people it may not mean anything. It's just another day off. But for others it does mean something. Veterans Day and all that. Well, I think that's all I wanted to say, I think, on this day, just to share a few words from under the rucksack. So take a few moments from the festivities this weekend and enjoy it. Absolutely. Those that are gone would want us to. They'd be happy to know that for the most part we still live free. That's what they died for our freedom, to be able to live in freedom. And we can still do a lot here in America, an opportunity that we have, unlike in other countries. And so I think they'd be happy to know that we're at least living free, to be able to enjoy the barbecues and the get-togethers and the fun this weekend. And then on Monday, to remember them. And as that gentleman said in Maryland, small towns don't forget things like that. I think that's a good thing. Anyway, that is all. Some things to ponder from under the rucksack.